Hello and welcome to the KEPRS training videos. This is sponsored by the Office of Education Licensure and Effectiveness, which reports to the Kentucky Department of Education and is authorized through the Education Professional Standards Board. The division which does the audits and reviews of educator programs is the Division of Educator Preparation, Assessment, and Internship. And the system we will be talking about today is the Kentucky Educator Program Review System, or KEPRS. Here are the key contacts, and you can always pause this video to capture information and phone numbers. The particular module we will be talking about today is the KEPRS Clinical Educators, and there are a series of videos in support of the KEPRS system. The reason we do this is that we are collecting a variety of information from the EPPs, the educator prep programs, and it's about the institution and provider information, information about their actual programs that they have at their institution. We capture information about courses, curriculum, clinical educators or faculty, your assessments, and then of course all of the standards that are used in the alignment. All of this information gets gathered together as a part of being prepared for a program review and program review decision. A lot of this information is also frequently used as a part of a review with CAPE and AIMS. So once you sign in with your EPSB user ID and password, you'll see this is the EPSB landing page. And then over in the left-hand column, close to the bottom, is the KEPRS system. And so we click on the KEPRS system and you'll see a series of icons in this landing page. The top row here is about program administration. This has to do with the overall profile, your contacts, permissions, creating a new program, submitting new programs for review, and then if necessary, there's a program closure. If you scroll down, there are additional applications used for the overall program design, and this involves courses, clinical educators, assessments, responses, and attaching supporting documents. So what we're going to talk about today is the clinical educator module. And when you click on that particular icon, that will take you to the main page for clinical educators. And in this case, I'm using a sample, and this is a test system. I'm using Alice Lloyd College as just kind of an example of what the clinical educators might look like. And when you land on this page, you'll see a full list of all of the clinical educators at that institution. And so row by row, you've got each individual name and you've got some basic information about each one. And then across these columns, you can sort, you can filter, just in case you wanted to look for exceptions or rearrange this data in any way. Also available on most of these modules is the ability to export this information. So if I were to export what's in that current view to my laptop, in this case, if I do a save, and I take a look at this, if you are familiar with Excel and how to manipulate data within Excel, this might be to your advantage. You simply get exactly what you saw on that particular view. And so there's the basic information for all the clinical educators. Pretty straightforward. And you'll notice that export to Excel is available on almost all of the different grid views within the KEPRS system. If we were going to add a clinical educator, somebody new came onto the staff, you'd click on Add New Clinical Educator, and here's the basic information. So I'm just going to key in Joe. This is Joe Sample, male, and a lot of these are pull downs, drop downs, so you pick the gender and the race, ethnicity, and these are pretty much standard options that you can pick from. I'll go with white, not Hispanic. And social, these are optional fields. When you see the little red star here, that means these fields are required. Since the Social Security number is not required, there's no star there, so this is optional. Also, the institutional ID, if you wanted to track that, you could put that in this field, but it's optional. And then we have the IHE or institution status of this individual. So this is their status across the college as a whole. So maybe this Joe sample is full-time at the university, but only part-time in certain programs. So what we're trying to capture here is their status across the college as a whole. So I'll say full-time. P12 certificates or licensures held, and you can code this in any way you like, either with a code, or you can say that they're they're in biology, or however you like. And the course is qualified to teach. If you click in this box, you'll get a list of all of the courses for this institution that have been keyed into KEPRS, and you can multi-select whatever courses this particular educator is qualified to teach. Not that they're necessarily teaching it now or in this semester, but just that they are qualified to teach. Experiences, I'm just going to keep this short and say they have many. I'm going to add some training information, and this is, we've tried to capture some of the key training information that we do need. So I'm going to say this person has their SB1 training. The delivery method was done on a handout, and it was done a month ago. So I'm going to go back to March and say March 9th was when they did that education. So there they got their training. The last field on this particular screen is their employment date. And if we know this person just started recently, again, let's say it's a month ago when they started. So I'll go back 1 month and say they started March 9th, and I do my update. I now have a begin date for when that person started their employment at the university. Next, I put continue, that's in the bottom right. Continue now lets me link this particular clinical educator to the different programs. And I could do a select all and say, oh yeah, they teach in a very basic general education course that all of our programs use. Well, that may not be the case. You can go in here and multi-select, say, biological science, chemistry, math, and let's just go with those three for now. So what's their status for just those three programs? Maybe they're doing this part-time, and their assignment is typically either they're involved with field experience, or they're the actual instructor, or maybe they're a supervisor and they're helping with student teaching. So we'll just say this person is a teacher, and they can have multiple roles, so you can multi-pick here. Relevant experience and or scholarship. Lots of experiences. The highest degree in this particular area, we'll say they have a bachelor's degree in science, and I say add program. Now, since I had multi-selected 3 of the categories up here, it made 3 entries of where this particular educator is linked to. So they've got biological science, chemistry, mathematics. And if I see here, whoa, I made a mistake here, I picked mathematics, I really didn't mean to do that, you can delete that. Are you sure you want to deactivate? It then removes that program from record. If I wanted to edit that and say, well, I said part-time for biological science, they're really not part-time, they're really acting as an adjunct, and their role isn't really a teacher. So I'm going to unselect that and say they're doing student teaching, update the program, and then I'm done. So now I've got biological science, adjunct. I've also got the chemistry, and they're part-time. So once I'm done, I hit save, and you do have to hit save, otherwise you will lose this information on the screen. And it takes me back to the top. And so I've got 8 folks in here, and there is Joe Sample right in the middle of the pack, and that's because it was sorted by their first name. And if I wanted to go back in and do some additional editing, it brings all that information back up to the screen, and basically you're starting over from where you were before once I get the system to respond. There we go. And maybe I'm going to add some courses. I can say this person is now qualified to teach some of the 300 level courses. Nothing else has changed. I have to say continue. And also here, none of the program associations have changed. I also have to say save. Faculty save successfully. And we're done. And that's it for the clinical educators. This one was relatively short and simple, and we look forward to having you come back for our next KEPRS training video. Thank you for your time.